shit. Got him. Hey guys, sorry about that. I'm a fucking idiot. I plugged it in, but I didn't make sure the cord was live. So I'm an idiot. While you're away, 67-yard TD reception for Amari Rodgers. Clemson goes up 6-3 pending extra point. And I wish I could go see the chat. I was answering a question right when my fucking computer crapped out. So hopefully some of you guys hop back in here. So I was enjoying chatting with you guys. Sorry, I'm just checking that out. I wouldn't hate if they replaced Dugans if you guys have hopped back in here, but I'd be fine if they kept them. He can still get blue chip recruits in. Like he played a big part in getting Malik McClain yesterday. But as I was rambling about, Fuller can kick fucking rocks. You know. You guys hop back in here because we're having a nice little chat. There's a handful of you guys, and so for now, I'll watch the game and see if you guys hop back in. You know what's weird about this game? Okay, some of you guys just hop back in. Visions still feel like offensive line should be priority number one. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Specifically tackle. Bradley, yellow towel when Fuller was hired. He was talking about how he was going to blitz, and we're just going to break off the edge. We didn't see nothing like that. That's what's shocking. We don't have legit pass rushers. So you think he would follow through with those blitz promises because we'd have to blitz out of fucking necessity. But you're right. I mean, didn't seem to be a ton of it. Be honest, you didn't even know Ron Dugans? Who doesn't know Ron Dugans? Number 80, when I was a kid, him and Peter Wart tore it up. AKA the Donk. I think last class, so Norvell's transition class, didn't Dugans get I think it was at least 2 blue chip wide receivers. So he's a good enough recruiter. Is he a good enough coach? I don't know. Was the poor wide receiver play this year due to shitty coaching or lack of talent? I don't know. There was too many times where it was receivers that have been under his wing since last year, his first year, Dugans that is, couldn't catch the fucking ball. Was it on Terry Wilson or the most recent game? Was it? Or maybe it was a different game, but fucking multiple times. Ball hit him in the hands or the fucking face and couldn't catch it. Wide receiver's been a big disappointment. So, like I said, I was sad to see Dugans go, but I wouldn't hate it if he stayed. DJ Matthews, I'm not inside the program, but I read what you guys probably read. But basically, he was on his third strike, if not more. He had gotten, I think, some discipline handed down under Jimbo, some discipline handed down under Willie, and then Norvell. Norvell was like, peace. Hold on, sorry. Yo. What's up? Cool. Alrighty. I'm actually in the middle of a live stream for my channel. It's fun. Talking to some FSU fans. Yeah, it's fun. But that's cool. All right, well, send me pictures. Night. Love you. Night. Sorry about that. That was my wife. Anyways. Let's see. Who we got here? Yeah, DJ was saying, he had gotten in trouble with all 3 coaches the last 4 years. So it was time to go. You can only tell a kid to do the right thing so many times before no one's going to take you seriously. So you had to go. James Cato or Catoe or Cato, thought on FSU landing Milton. I think I discussed this last time. It's pretty much what most folks think. At the very least, he raises the floor of the quarterback room, brings some stability, because right now you have two kids in Purdy and Rodemaker. Then you have your returning starter, Wilson. I think Wilson could get better as a passer. I think too many people are writing him off as this is what he should be. I don't think he's going to be a great passer. His ceiling is limited as far as passing goes, but another offseason with Norvell and company, a legit offseason, if he can get average to above average passer and you combine that with his legs, he could retain the job. And then, of course, with Milton, how healthy is he? He's posted some practices from UCF on his IG account. You see, like Jimbo has said, you see him running around doing some things. So you see him mobile in these practice videos, these clips that he put out. And he'll have to pass, physicals and stuff like that once he gets to FSU. So I think political answer, we just don't know yet with Milton. If he's remotely healthy, 90%, he'll be the starter without question. Without question. He has a ridiculously quick release. He's accurate. Who knows how mobile he'll be, but if he's even 90% of what he was, he'll be the starter. And I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. Others have posited this opinion, and that the 4-star receiver McLean we got Friday, I think it's no small coincidence that he came back after Milton came on board. I think Milton played a part in that. Milton could attract more transfer guys, like viable transfer guys, and that would be huge. At the very least, he brings positive PR to the program. Hey, a guy just a few years ago, prior to injury, was a Heisman candidate, chose to come play with us. Maybe we're not so shitty, folks. I mean, we are, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe he's the domino, right, that gets some other transfer kids on board, that in turn helps his program get more wins, and then legitimate elite blue chip recruits start coming down the road. I think it's huge. I think it's a big deal that he committed to Florida State. I don't know how many other programs or how many big-time programs were offering him. I'm sure they were kicking the tires, but yeah, I'm happy. Like I said, worst case scenario, he pushes the QB room, makes it more competitive, and he's a positive influence in the locker room. And a team that's rebuilding, I think I said this in the last video, when you're rolling with 10-plus wins a year, New Year's Bowls, college football playoffs, stuff like that, yeah, culture's important, but probably a little less relevant when you're just out-talenting everybody, for lack of a better term. But when you're in rebuild mode, character helps because you need buy-in when you're rebuilding. If people aren't buying into the bullshit you're selling, or if they're deeming it as bullshit, then it's going to be the rebuild possible, in my opinion. Okay. What happened to Marvin Wilson? He was injured a lot of this year, and then he opted out, rightfully so. We were a shit show. Yeah, I really liked Webb in the short time we got to see him. That dude, he reminded me of Devontae Freeman. I haven't heard anyone else say that, but someone else has had to say that on Twitter or broadcast, because that's what he reminded me of. Webb always fell forward, always gained positive yardage, just a hard runner, not elite speed, but just an efficient runner. And so it was sad to see him go, but that's one thing at FSU I don't really worry about running back. When I list positions when I prioritize positions in my head, running back's pretty far down the list. I expect FSU will be fine at running back. I'm sure they might bring in another transfer. Hopefully they get Hargrove, who's a 4-star recruit. But right now there's talk of Auburn's running back, who's second on their depth chart, I think. He went to the transfer portal. I forgot his name. Last name Richards, I think. Armon Richards' little brother. I believe he was a top 100 player in high school. Anyways, he's buried on the depth chart. He might come to Florida State. There are options in the portal. I ain't worried about running back. And that's not me trying to sugarcoat the loss of Webb. Webb was good, but he wasn't a game changer where you're like, oh, fuck, we lost Cook. You know what I mean? Like, he was good, but not irreplaceable. I'll put it that way. Let's see. I agree the defense must improve, but this team needs stability. The last thing we need is more. No, and I've considered that too. Scott Smith is talking about mean, because what did Willie do? Second year, fired, what's his name? That shitty offensive coordinator we had, Walt Bell, and went to, God damn, I'm brain fart again. Bryles. And the offense did improve under Bryles, but yeah, like, do you want to see that every year where you're changing coordinators? Because the old saying goes, you can only fire so many coordinators till, the buck stops at you. So fire Fuller if you want, and I wouldn't blame him. But will that be the answer? Bringing in a new coordinator, just disrupting continuity? I don't know. Mike, yeah, Travis and KZ will have Austin keep it out because Travis will be better. Yeah, like people are just automatically penciling in Milton as a starter. Again, he very well could be. Like I said, if he's healthy enough, he probably will be. But I think it's way too early to assume that Travis isn't the starter next year. Yeah, Mike says, full off season for Norvell and staff. Absolutely. Like, it doesn't – not having spring practice – and being able to do the things you normally do in off season certainly didn't help this team. But at the same time, you can't totally excuse everything that we've seen. Like losing to Georgia Tech at home, spring practices or no spring practices, you should beat Georgia Tech at home. Maybe you could lose to Louisville and Pitt, but pandemic, no off season or not, you probably shouldn't get smoked by those two schools. So like, it's kind of a nuanced thing, right? You should grade Norvell and staff on a curve because of that pandemic. I'm sorry, 3 spring practices. You're trying to implement a new offense and defense. You've had a disruption during the season. Blah 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 blah. People sitting out because of COVID. People opting out. This season should most definitely be graded on a curve. But that doesn't mean Norvell and company are completely above reproach. There are still criticisms to be had. But like Willie, I had the criticisms, kind of like in my head, but I was giving him a pass for year 1. And that wasn't during a season that was going through a pandemic. If I give him a pass, I'm giving Norvell a pass and taking kind of mental notes on some fuckery. And if the same fuckery is there, by the end of year 2, then you're like, I don't know if this is the guy. And I hate to bring up Willie. You can criticize Norvell without bringing up Willie, folks. But there's some people on there I'm ranting now, just constantly stan about Willie. I don't get it. First of all, I was excited when he was hired. I was on this channel. Now I sound like a moron because at that time I was saying, hey, be excited for Willie. He's recruiting. Oops. Right? Turns out he's not the greatest coach in the world, it appears. But I just don't understand how you can continue to stand for a guy that went 9-12 during his tenure. While it is true, 21 games isn't enough to turn around a program. I will concede that. But after that Miami loss last year, I was at that game, by the way. It was fucking pathetic. Did anyone have any real confidence Willie was going to get it turned around? I think the real criticism, and some folks that call themselves dark side Knowles will point this out. The real criticism is on the administration. If you're going to shit can a guy after 21 games, your number one option better be in the fucking bag. And we know that wasn't the case. Bob said no thank you, Bob Stoops. It's believed that Franklin and Matt Campbell were probably higher on the list than Norvell. So at best, Norvell was the 3rd or 4th option, depending on who you ask. And Norvell's only coached 8 games. I say 8 because he didn't coach the Miami game. So you shouldn't if you're bitching that 21 games isn't enough, you can't be like, 8 games in, Norvell's trash. Well, I know there's a pandemic going on. Norvell's trash. Like you can't do that. You can't have it both ways. Next year, by the end of year 2, we'll see. If it legitimately looks like the program's headed in the right direction, all right then. People can either shut the fuck up about Willie. 9-12. 9-12. And he had Cam Akers. Sorry. Okay, Scott, I like Norvell, but watching A&M Makes me wish they had built a castle for Jimbo. Yeah, maybe they should have ponied up the dough, but at the same time, like that, Jimbo's Knolls were headed this direction since 2013. Maybe if they built that football facility, maybe it would have turned back around. But it didn't look like that team was returning to championship aspirations under Jimbo anytime soon. I mean, we'd be in better shape than we are now. No doubt about that, whether they built anything for Jimbo or not. Had Jimbo stuck around, yes, we'd be winning more games. Maybe not 10+, maybe not beating Clemson consistently, but we'd be in a better place. But he was flirting every offseason. And I think both parties are a little guilty, right? Boosters fucked up. The admin fucked up. You know, Jimbo wasn't perfect by any means. And I don't believe, like that recent ESPN article that pretty much talked about Jimbo's exodus and whatnot, most of that was very good, but I find it hard to believe some of the stuff that was said in there, like, Jimbo didn't stop recruiting, blah, blah. Bullshit. He had one leg out the fucking door that last year. By the time he left, our recruiting class was in the 60s. There were recruits, commits, targets saying, we haven't heard from the staff since September. And this is like November at this point. So that part of the article, I was like, yeah, he was quitting. He already quit. But anyways, rambling here. Bradley says, I just think if Bryles could have used Jay Travis all year, I feel like Willie wanted to keep him on the bench. I have no clue. Obviously, none of us are in the locker room, but it was it was the Boston College game. What was it, the first game after Willie, when Travis, played quite a bit, was running up and down the field? At the very least, how the fuck, and I said this at the time, so it's not like hindsight 2020. We've seen Travis rush for 600 yards this year, and now I'm damning Willie and company. I said this at the time last year, and a lot of people did. You have this guy, and I know he was, I think, maybe a little dinged up at the beginning of the year, but this was all the way like game 12 or game 11, whenever it was, the time he was unleashed with his legs. What's happened? Fuck. Clemson scored again. Sorry, I'm trying to see the score. Anyways, I'm sure you guys are probably watching on your TVs. How the hell, when Travis was ready to go, whatever point it was early in the season, midway season, how was he at least implemented in packages? That's what I remember watching him. I was excited, obviously, when he was making those long runs at BC and doing those things, but I was like, how the fuck are we in game 11, or maybe it was game 12, whatever it was, and this is just now happening? Maybe he shouldn't be the starting quarterback because blah, 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 blah. But I just remember shaking my head. We've had his legs available to use in packages, and we haven't used it? Now, granted, Wilson didn't start the year as starter, so it's not like Norvell and company are completely, absolved from blame or accountability. Like, look, you shouldn't say they were geniuses, but it didn't take long. Like, Blackman started the year, sucked. I think Rodemaker may have got a start or some time, but what was it, by game 3 maybe? I don't know. You guys tell me. Game 2 or 3, it was like, yep, Travis is the guy. Like, it certainly didn't take them fucking 10, 11 games or whatever it was. Anyways, again, I don't understand why you cop for the last guy, Willie. You can criticize Norvell without bringing up Willie, but if you're going to stand for Willie, expect to get some brushback on that. I mean, whether it was current players after he left, current players, former players, recruits, targets, beat reporters, national reporters, all of them saying the same shit, which was basically Willie was in over his head. He was fucking disorganized. Hell, he only had 9 of 10 on-field coaches. So all those folks are saying that type of criticism. Are they all wrong? Is it a fucking conspiracy against Willie that they were all saying negative shit? It sounds like Trumpers who were like, okay, now I know the Washington Post, the New York Times, Reuters, AP, they all might have this evidence to be saying it, but I don't believe it. Like, fuck out of here. Willie's gone. He's gone, folks. If you're Willie Stans watching this, Okay, Christopher Hughes. That's a Norvell criticism, bringing someone who can recruit Florida. That is a legitimate Norvell criticism. No one really, beyond Dugans, I guess, who he retained, and I guess Odell, have enough Florida ties to recruit in the state. Now, maybe those ties would have been irrelevant if they could actually had in-person contact with Florida kids and they could have just cultivated relationships without the ties, but the ties certainly would help. So that's what we've seen this year with recruiting is they've had to go out of state with areas the staff knows is because they haven't been able to cultivate relationships with a lot of these Florida kids. One, yeah, because they don't have ties. Two, because no in-person visits, campus or otherwise. So let's see. Just think of browse. If Travis plays versus Georgia Tech, oh God, yeah. If Jordan Travis, yeah, again, that's a mistake. That's another Norvell criticism. You know how you lost to Georgia Tech? You might not lose that game if Travis is running around on Georgia Tech's defense. Just saying. So that's a legitimate. That's a legitimate criticism. I think if Travis plays, no doubt they win that game. Scott Smith, this is year 0 for Norvell. It's year 0 for every first-year head coach, quite honestly. So you're right. If you're a first-year head coach, whether it's Norvell or someone else, I mean, this is year 0 for you. You weren't able to do the normal things that coaches are supposed to be able to do with practices and recruiting, and all of that's been fucked out the window. So yes, I will say that for every first-year head coach. This is more like year 0. I agree with that. So let's see, Christopher Hughes. They only know what we say, so I say tell everyone. Okay. Scott Tate started versus Miami. Yeah, Rodemaker. Yes, but what was Travis hurt? Was Travis hurt that game? Isn't that? Or did he get hurt? Oh no, wait. Tate started. I think Travis maybe came. I can't remember. I was drunk. It was my wedding day. Did Travis come in and then get banged up, then left? I can't remember. Yeah, and there's the other thing. Mike says it's about Norvell. It's time to move on. Yes, it is, and the bigger overriding issue is, and this has been said by people that that use logic and reason. Norvell's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. FSU's not going to buy out consecutive coaches. They're too fucking broke. So whether you like Norvell, you're just playing the wait and see game, or you've already given up on Norvell. Strap the fuck in, because he ain't going nowhere. He's not going anywhere. We're going to sink or swim with this motherfucker, okay? That's all there is to it. Bradley Wilson, Norvell seems like he is more stern and will send you packing. I mean, if you're going to rebuild the culture, you can't have slapdickery going around because people aren't going to take it seriously. It's like Dante Lucas earlier this year set out at least a game or two, supposedly because he was fucking around, like just not doing what he's supposed to do. Visions. I remember when I discovered your Twitter when you went AWOL. First thing I saw was you ripping it to Trump people. Dude, if you vote for Trump and you're watching or you're in the chat, I suggest you probably get the fuck off because of what I'm about to say. I've hated Trump since he was in office. And I literally, I forgot where I got this from. I have a PDF with 335 pages of transgressions, either minor or severe, things worthy of criticisms under Trump during his entire presidency. 334 pages worth. Again, from minor to severe to slap dick, whatever. And I'm not going to sit here and read them to you or folks that I meet on the internet, but like 330 something fucking pages. Anyway, let's not turn this into a political show. But yes, if you don't know, Trump, you're gone. Fuck you. Anyways, back to football. Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Travis might have been hurt against Tech. He might have. I can't remember 100%. But I do agree. Had he played, we would have won. Yeah, he was banged up. Yeah, I'm not gonna miss Blackman. And sorry, fuck, dude. I spent, not that y'all care, I spent all yesterday on top of a roof helping my neighbor hang their lights because she's a widow. And man, that fucking, between the sun, the cold air, fucking face is on fire. Anyways, the fuck was it? Oh, Blackman. Blackman reminds me, or brings me to this. People criticizing Norvell for all these players leaving. I recently tweeted this, like this week. I put a list of all the players that have left since Norvell started. I think it's like 20-ish players. There was legitimately, no hyperbole here, maybe 4 guys out of that 20 that I wish were still on the team. One was Webb. I have the list in front of me, but it was about 4. And I could probably narrow that down to 2 if you consider talent and character. Like, okay, not only are they talented, but they're not a disruption in the locker room. Like literally 2 to 4 guys. None of the 20, and this includes the 2 to 4 guys that I wish were still on the team, none of those were game changers. None of them. And yet people are bitching, oh, they don't want to play for Mike. They're leaving. Look who's left. Fucking chumps. Chumps. Need better football players than me, of course, but if I'm being a fan, being a fanatic, criticizing players and the team and the sport, literally 2 to 4 I wish were still on this team, and none of the 20 plus were game changers. Like, fuck them. Goodbye. Especially the guys that are just like, I'm tired of seeing you. Blackman. I know the kid has a good heart. He ain't got it. Goodbye. Don't miss you. DJ Matthews, don't miss him. Woodbay had all the potential in the world. Played like ass. Won't miss him. Durden, I wish he stayed because he can be a disruption in the middle, but at the same time, won't miss him. And I could go on and on and on this list of just chump-ass players that have left. Goodbye. Okay, Luis Ramos says, culture rebuild needed to happen. Yes, we had big names leave the program, but those names were not producing. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We had solid classes, but that was mostly because of highly rated DBs. Yes, there were some classes where it's like, we have 5 blue chip DBs. We have 12 total blue chips. Okay. X Visions. I'm sending Visions, and I have Z's. Blackman was so aggregating to watch. Aggravating, I think you meant, but maybe that was autocorrect thing. He'd have a great game and we'd lose because defense the next week. He'd think, yeah. Blackman, again, looks like he has a good heart and he's a good teammate, but his temper tantrums and it's just his production. Like he's not a guy. He's just not a guy. He shouldn't be a starter at FSU, typically, when we're not sucking ass. Brad, dude, I've been listening to you since you were hiding behind a blank screen. Hiding behind a blank screen talking about FSU football. Oh, man, Brad, you've been around a while. Oh, when I used to just have like a graphic and just it was more like a podcast style, but YouTube. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for continuing to stick around. I like talking Knowles with you guys. It's fucking awesome. Scott Smith, agree about the purge. I'm so glad to see those players gone. Dern and Woodbay chirping it on Twitter. Get the fuck out. Those Scott also says those DBs couldn't cover my 7-year-old dad and myself. Like I said, go if you have time. There was a tweet this week, or if you can just, I'm sure you can find the list some other way, but go look at the names that have left the program since Norvell. None of them you're like, oh man, now we're fucked. We're fucked now. No. Watching the time makes the Jets. Oh, you're a Jags fan? Unfortunately, I'm a Jags fan. My feed is sucking ass. I expected Clemson to win this game, but I was hoping to be competitive just for the watchability. Yeah, my feed is fucked. I'm on just the ESPN app because ABC was being terrible. Whatever. A long drive to work. Yeah, it's painful being a Jags fan. But I guess Fields is not the worst consolation prize in the world, assuming that's who the Jags would take second. Of course, the year we win one game, there's going to be a team that wins 0. Of fucking course. I remember the year Luck declared for the draft. I think it was like the last game of the season or something. I forgot who the Jags were playing. But I think we were in a position to get him, and then we won the fucking game. It was a December game, I know for sure. So it might have been the last game of the year. And we won, slid down a notch, and weren't able to draft him. And the Colts did. I'm going to try and fix my feed. This is stupid. Dabo's fuck ass. Hey, man, I'm trying to duck us. You can't duck us, man. Fuck out of here, Dabo, you bitch. Let's try this again. Fucking can't stand Dabo. He's such a bitch. It's cool, Brad. I just started first beer, but I'm sure I'll be there later. This shit's still lagging. God damn it! They're holding him to a field goal. In case you're not watching, it's about to be 17-3, and my feed is just beyond choppy for some fuck reason. I don't get it. Whatever. Too early to say game over, but it's getting close. Getting close to that point. Fucking Dabo. He's such a fucking bitch. Can't stand that fucking clown. There's rumors that Auburn is interested in either Tony Elliott or Venables. Don't see Venables ever leaving. He makes an insane amount as a D coordinator, loves what he does. His kids are at Clemson. He ain't going nowhere. But yeah, Elliott, please go. Go coach Auburn. I'd love to see Dabo without his precious coordinators. That'd be fantastic. Dude's I don't care how many games he wins. He's a fucking clown. Yeah, Dabo's the worst. Like, just sheer logic would tell you he's a moron. I mean, the only people that believed him were Clemson fans or other FSU rivals. Like, yeah, Dabo, we ducked you. What was the time? What was our record? 2-6. We're 2-6. Dabo, we've got blown out by Miami, Pitt, Louisville. Yeah, Clemson blowout's really going to be the death nail to this program. Like, no, bitch. I didn't duck you, you fuck. You had a player with symptoms, practiced all week, he popped positive, and you still traveled with him. If you want to bitch at anybody, bitch at the ACC for their slapdick protocol. Now, they recently after that, ACC changed their protocol, which is basically by Friday, you'll know, and that's when the decision has to be made. No more day of when you get some Friday results on Saturday. So you want to bitch at anybody, bitch at the ACC for the stupid protocol. But the thing FSU is ducking you. There's been like 120 or more canceled games in college football this year, Dabo. This was bound to happen. You fuckwad. Never mind, of course. FSU's broke. They need money. They would have loved to have hosted another game. Are you kidding me? I don't know how much they were projected to make that game. You know, it's partial crowd, but I'd say $1 million plus at least. They probably lost. Oh, Elliott says he's not interviewing. Good God. Maybe like what Clemson's doing is like their coordinators, the salaries that we see are just reported, but they're actually making double or something. Fucking leave. Please, fucking leave. I mean, a couple years ago, you had Chad Morris leave. You're like, okay, there's one. All right. Of course, Elliott was waiting in the fold. He's good. Excellent. Will be a head coach at some point. And then, of course, you have Venables, who's just probably never going to fucking leave. It's frustrating. Okay, Visions. I got UF fans hanging out with me today. They're convinced they win, they get. They're convinced if they win, they get in. First of all, they're not going to fucking win, and that's not really a slight against Florida, as it is. Bama's just fucking stupid good. I think random arbitrary score prediction: Bama 45, Florida 24. I think the line is like Bama minus 17.5, and I think the over/under is like 74-ish. So before you Gator fans think my prediction's just way off base, it's really not. Bama's just stupid good. Just stupid good. Let's see. They called him Irv Gotti. Clemson had drop bags and build an amusement park to become a big time. Well, everybody drops bags, but yeah, the slide and shit. And that's the other thing. We're going to have to start doing that. I mean, that's what Jimbo was trying to tell everyone before he left. Hey, we've spent some money. It's not like, it's not like we're, the bottom of the barrel when it comes to money. I mean, you look at our coaches' salaries, you look at some of the amenities. But if you want to keep competing with the Clemsons and Alabama and all them, you have to spend like them. So as much as FSU spent a lot, you're going to have to spend more. I don't know what to tell you. And a few people put it, the analogy or the description of FSU was it's like a Lamborghini with a Honda engine, referencing the administration and the boosters and all that shit. And they're not wrong, really, in many respects. Like, we got away with a lot of shit as far as spending because we had Bobby for 30-plus years. And then we're fortunate that Jimbo was on staff, and there was a smooth transition under him. And, of course, things were built under him, the IPF, the video boards, the renovated locker rooms, the player dorms. But, again, you still got to spend more to keep up with Clemson and Bama and Oregon. All that. Like, and drop bags for recruits. Drop more bags. Yeah, or that's the thing. That's what thing with some people don't know, especially if you're not an FSU fan. Our booster pool isn't nearly as large as some of these programs. It's just not. It's just not. Merrill Coleman, what's up, man? Yep, I'm here watching this Clemson Notre Dame game. 17-3, 2 minutes till halftime. Ian Buck is about to get. Okay, he escaped. But fourth down. And a flag. Probably holding. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I mean, supposedly that football-only facility is technically going to happen eventually. Who knows when? What's my opinion on Kirby Smart? I think it's an opinion that a lot of people share because it seems like the most logical one. He's a defensive coach that can evolve. I mean, it's a really simplistic way to put it. He's an excellent recruiter, obviously, but he's one of those defense first head coaches that can't evolve, which is surprising because his, what's the word I'm looking for? He was the protege, basically, of Saban. What did Saban do? That's all he has to look at. Saban, his early Bama years. What did we see? He was still winning titles, but you saw an elite defense, an elite running game, and a quarterback that wouldn't fuck it up for you, basically. I mean, McElroy and folks like that. FSU's former quarterback, Coker, guys like that, not elite quarterbacks. And the style of offense, at least early on under Saban, was mostly ground and pound, but he evolved. He got beat by Ole Miss a couple times. He got beat by Johnny Football. And so he evolved. He hired guys that are considered like offensive geniuses. They started doing more spread, getting more elite quarterbacks, passing more. Not to say they don't still ground and pound, but he, from his early years, he opened up a little bit. And that's what Kirby needs to do, or I ain't winning shit. Whatever the fuck Florida just beat Georgia by, what was it? How much did they beat them by? 20 points? I don't remember the score. I know Florida scored in the 40s. Florida isn't 20 points better than Georgia, right? The difference in that ball game, or at least their roster, isn't more talented than Georgia's. It's not. Trask. Georgia had whoever the fuck that was. That was the difference in the game. If we want to really boil it down, we can, I'm sure Georgia and Florida fans could break down that game way better than I could, but the overriding theme of the difference in that game is quarterback play. Trask, a Heisman contender. Georgia, some slapdick quarterback who can't even throw warm-up passes on the sideline. That's what Kirby's going to have to do. Like, I there's one Georgia friend I have, I fuck with him sometimes. I'm like, how in the fuck did Kirby and company fuck up Justin Fields' recruitment? Not recruitment, but how'd they fuck up that situation? Literally the best recruit Georgia, at least on paper, has ever signed. Ever. At least since, Rivals and 24/7 and those folks have been doing rankings. The highest rated recruit ever. And somehow they managed to mismanage him. Like, I get what's his name was there. Fromm had a good freshman year, but for the most part was kind of like any Kirby quarterback or Saban's early quarterbacks. Talented, not elite, won't fuck up the game for you. Won't make a dick ton of mistakes, right? He was preventing from them having Fields get on the field more. Like, you don't get that type of recruit and then, like, yo-yo him back and forth in the lineup for a 3rd and 3 running play where he hands it off. Or, they just mismanage the fuck out of him. If Fields is still on Georgia, they might have won a national title already. In 18 or 19, it's possible. They totally fucked that up. So Kirby needs to evolve on offense, and you can out-talent folks for so long until you run into a team that has nearly as good talent, but if they have a better quarterback, you're going to get beat. Here's a perfect example, a one-game example of Saban adapting. Saban versus Kirby in the national title game. Shit wasn't going well. What was it, Hurts? He went with the freshman, Tua, and it paid off. He had the balls to do it because he knew, well, I see the way this is going. We're not going to win this game if Hurts stays in. So he went to Tua. And again, you could break this game down more, but the biggest reason they won that game is because he made the switch to Tua. So, yeah, long-winded way of saying I think Kirby is a good coach, but he ain't winning a national title until he fucking evolves. Go get you a fucking elite offensive coordinator. Make sure he's not a guy that likes to spread it out a little bit. Don't go get, adapt, evolve. The game's changed, bud. You can play great defense and run the ball all day long, but eventually, when you run into the big boys that have quarterbacks, you're going to get beat. If the game continues like this, Notre Dame shouldn't get in the playoff, right? If they get smoked. Irv Gotti, the ACC wants Clemson to win this game. I don't understand why they have a soft heart for them, even when we dominated the conference. I don't get it, right? Terrible mistake, Kirby on Fields. I'm surprised Dalvin's brother has hung in there, right? I didn't heard his name. Kirby used Fields for a fake punt. Exactly. I mean, just completely mishandled Fields. Like, how do you fuck that up? But him and Jake were supposedly like fishing buddies and shit. When was the last time Notre Dame wasn't overrated? I mean, they're a good team, but yeah, I don't know, because even when they had kind of bad teams, they would just hang around in the rankings for a while before eventually they'd lose enough games to be like, all right, that's enough's enough. But hey, Will Putnam, 56, the offensive lineman we lost in the 11th hour last year. Or was it 2 years ago? Speaking of linemen, you guys probably saw that Love Taylor's returning. That's big. Not big as in, oh, he's the piece that's going to get us to 10 games. But if we're going to have a better record next year, which it'd be hard not to, but assuming a full offseason is had, having your highest graded lineman, and which, by the way, by highest graded, I mean like above average. That's what Taylor was. He was above average, which, by the way, was sorely needed because we haven't had above average tackles or linemen in I don't know how long. So him returning is big. That definitely will solidify the group. I don't know what they're doing here. But you can't fuck up in the portal this year. Have to go get at least 2 tackles. I don't care who they are. I don't know if they're reviewing the line. See if you got the first or not. Sorry, I'm watching the game. This video is probably going to get flagged because I have the game on. It's like I'm trying to broadcast it. 3 of the top 15 corners? God damn. That's no joke. Yeah, early National Signing Day, which is kind of a teaser, and now I got to wait till February to see if these couple remaining targets hop on board, which is Hargrove, 4-star running back. Maybe that defensive tackle Malone, probably not though. He's a 4-star too. Destin Hill, the dynamic 4-star receiver. Those are probably the 3 most viable blue chips we could still get. At most, 2 of them. I think 1 would be the safe bet, but I think I said this at the beginning. If we get 2 of those blue chips, this class will be in the teens. And considering everything, I'll fucking take it. Let's see. Oh, Luca says you should do a review of that safety movie. Is that? I assume you're referencing the Disney Clemson movie. No, I refuse to watch that. Fuck that. Hold on a second. Get some pictures here. Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Visions. If FSU's class moves into the teens within the context of what's gone on this year, the previous 4, it's fine. You can't have those type of classes every year. If Norvell only gets classes in the teens, I think it's not going to cut it. But for his first legit class to be one in which he couldn't have in-person visits, kind of a big deal, and still get in the teens, that gives me hope, or I think that might say something positive about the recruiting ability of the staff. Because if you can finish 16, 17 with no in-person visits on campus or otherwise, then you'd like to think that once it's back to normal, you can cultivate relationships and pull in more elite recruits because you can actually see them. So we'll see. Not for nothing, with DLT coming back and more continuity with the rest of the O-line, solid work for Kip Webb, and Milton at QB, we have a chance at being solid next year. The defense, though, yeah. I don't think Fuller's going to get fired. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Norvell's going to chalk it up to a pandemic year or something. He's not going to fire the guy he made a point to bring on a year after this year. So if he's back, that high, especially since we're still not going to have really any legitimate pass rushers unless one gets in the portal and we get them. That maybe with an offseason, the defense goes from one of the worst in the country to middle of the pack, like in the 60s out of all the FBS teams. I would take that. Yeah. Yes, Luis Ramos need a receiver to break away. Yes, badly. It sounds like Jesus Christ. TD Etienne, about to be 24-3. Okay, now I'll say this game's over. Yeah. Fuck you, Dabo, you bitch. Good God. Yeah, that's ball game, folks. So go ahead and pencil Clemson into the playoff. Okay. Yep, Etienne is a beast. No, Hughes, I'm with you. Maybe I would be surprised just of how college football is if every single member of the staff is back next year. Like maybe someone moves on, whatever. But if that happens, if you have to replace a guy, please bring in a guy with Florida recruiting ties. I totally agree with you there. There's been no rumors of anyone on staff leaving, but whether it's Woodson, the DB coach, a linebackers coach, whoever, if someone moves on, please replace them with someone that has Florida recruiting ties. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. I agree with you, Luca. I don't like Clemson winning, but at the same time, at least it's fucking Notre Dame they're blowing out. I mean, fuck Notre Dame. I wonder how much Etienne got paid to come back. That's right. He's a fucking senior. That's the other thing. Remember when they had, it was just a year or two ago, whenever it was, that loaded defensive line where like at least 2 to 3 guys had first or second round grades and they all came back. It's like fucking unheard of. Like what? How much are they getting paid? I don't care. Like that's ridiculous. Excuse me. Jesus Christ. This will be my first and last beer. I can't drink beer like I used to. Man. Well, since we're just bullshitting, I'm drinking fucking Stella. What are you guys sipping on? I think I'm switching to whiskey after this beer. I just can't. When I was young, I could do beer, but now, dude, I just want to fucking pass out after like 3 beers. Okay, well, Woodson's not going anywhere then. Scott says Woodson's the main recruiter for Travis Hunter, who's currently committed to FSU as a 5-star for the 2022 class, so next class. May have an argument by the time everything's said and done to be one of the top 5 players in the entire country, if not maybe number 1. Yesterday, it was fucking ridiculous. I think he had like 180 yards on offense, an interception. Like the kid is Derwin-esque is what comes to mind. And I wasn't saying Woodson's leaving. I'm just saying we know Dugan's and we know Odell's not leaving. Their extensions, I think, run through next season. They're not leaving. I don't think Fuller's going to leave or get fired, I should say. Although he probably should. I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm thinking of smaller names like a DB coach, a linebackers coach, defensive ends coach. Was it Papuchis? I'm not saying any of these guys get fired, but I'm just naming guys that aren't Odell and so forth because they're not going anywhere. Yeah, I think with a full offseason, this staff, if they finish like people think, here's the thing. We're I think 21st, 22nd, and 24/7 composite ranking, and there's like 8 spots available, something like that. Sheer volume would get FSU's class into the teens. Like they could just grab some bunch of 3-stars, 4 or 5 of them, and just the volume will scooch them into the teens. But like I said before, if they get 2 to 3 blue chips that are still on their radar, and then you're looking in the neighborhood of top 15. without being able to see recruits in person. Broken record. So because of that, if it ends like that, my hope is restored for the 2022 class. All right, maybe they make a run at a legit top 10 class, hopefully get over that 50% blue chip rate, which is, as Bud Elliott on the Nolecast and formerly of Tomahawk Nation, and now he's on 24/7. He always tweets that out every year, the article, like the past 15, 20 champs, they've had at least a 50% blue chip ratio the years leading up to their title. Carla Freeman, Florida State's got a potential to be good again. Well, of course they do. I mean, just based on geography. You live in a recruiting hotbed. So, yeah, I would hope so. Yeah, Destin Hill, that would be a big get. I mean, hopefully I can drop enough bags and sell him on playing time. Because, look, dude, our wide receiver room is, for the most part, trash. You can come in here and get snaps. You may not start, but you will get fucking snaps. I mean, we have a bunch of chumps. Visions. Do I watch NFL? No. I casually watch the Jags. Not much because it's depressing. Major League Baseball, the Cubs. Obviously, my channel name is Cubby Knoll, but really that's the two sports: MLB and college football, or Cubs and Knolls. That's pretty much it. When I was younger, I used to watch everything. I mean, even hockey. But now I just whittled it down. Don't watch the NBA. Don't really watch much NFL outside of the Jags. But yeah, Cubs and Knolls are neck and neck. Just baseball and college are neck and neck. I'm stupid into fantasy baseball. I just love it. I haven't written in months, but I was contributing to Fantrax. I don't know if you ever heard of Fantrax. You have CBS, Yahoo, ESPN. Fantrax is right here as far as fantasy platforms go to play your sports on. So I contributed with them. I play in the industry leagues, and this isn't bragging, just telling you how much of a fucking fantasy baseball nerd I am. So I love fantasy baseball because I love stats. I love doing research. So baseball and the Knolls for me. Shots, get the party started. I'm about to pour some whiskey, so. Willie should have never been hired at Florida State. They got a good coach. I hope you're right, Carla. Looking back on the Willie hire, and I'm not the first to discuss that, but Willie's name's going to come up. Y'all remember the coaching search was 4 days? At the time, we should have known, or at least raised eyebrows. Because I just remember I wanted the search to end quickly, just because, a lot of fans are impatient. But he was really the only name you really heard for the most part. And the coaching search was 4 or 5 days long. That should have been clue number fucking 1. Perhaps we didn't do our due diligence. The Norvell coaching search lasted, a month? A fucking month? And granted, as I said earlier, at best, Norvell was the third or fourth choice. It was probably Stoops, Franklin, and Campbell. Pretty sure Campbell was that press conference stage that was erected, then deconstructed, because the next day he got an extension from Iowa State. Campbell's the guy I wanted. I was fine when I signed Norvell, but Campbell's the guy I wanted. I didn't think Stoops was ever going to come. Franklin, how are they doing this year? Penn State, not good. Not to say he's a bad coach, but Franklin wasn't exactly the guy I was wetting my pants over. I really wanted Campbell. He just seemed to check all the boxes. Power 5 conference, great record, track record of turning a program around. Young, Let's see. So I can catch up here. Chris G. I see Norvell's trying to get the wide receiver from Kansas, originally from Fort Lauderdale. Kid is a playmaker. Hope we get him. Yeah, there's a lot of smoke on Twitter that he's going to come aboard. I'd be fine with it. His name is Andrew Parchment. I think he only played in like 3 games this year. It had three or 4 games, 20-something catches. I forgot the yardage. Need all the help we get in that room. Like, beggars can't be choosers. Come on down, Andrew Parchment. Visions, I started watching Rays last season. Yeah, I love the Rays. I'm a Cubs fan, but there's certain teams that I root for. Rays are one of them. Just because they compete with the juggernauts with a payroll, half the size. Carla Freeman, I like the Braves. I like the Braves too, just because they're fun. I love Acuna. Like I said, I play in dynasty leagues. I love Acuna, Ozzie Albies. I think Freddie Freeman's a class act. Just won the MVP. They just signed Charlie Morton. I like Morton. He's old. He's my age. Still getting it done. Soroka, Ian Anderson, Max Fried is fucking legit. Maybe they'll get Ozuna back. I know this will turn into baseball chat, but yeah, I like the Braves. I'm glad they finally went out and got some pitching, because they can't waste this window. You don't do that. They've had their farm system. Some of the big guys like Acuna and Ozzie and others come up and contribute. Okay, and that's great, but you have to spend money and fill in those needs, and they finally did that. They brought in Morton. That'll help. They signed Drew Smiley, who I think is a sleeper this year. So glad to see the Braves make that push. Just don't let that fucking window close without winning a series. Yeah, it's parchment like parchment paper. I've never liked those up-tempo offense. It screws the defense. Well, the up-tempo offense, it's like Bryles. I got it. Everyone got it. The offensive line was so atrocious. The only shot we had at moving the ball consistently, or at least making big plays, was to move quickly and catch the defense sleeping. There was no way we could take our time and line up, because we were going to get smoked. But yes, the drawback to that is, of course, our defense, whether we score or we don't score, is coming back on the field and getting fucked. Ideally, you find something in between. Have a good pace. You don't have to be a fucking Oregon, Bryles, top 10 pace, but I think Norvell's paces under Memphis were usually top third of FBS. And I'll be right back. I've let my dog out. Come on, Webs. All right. I let my dog out. Anyways, what have I missed here? Stan Wilcox did his guy a solid. Yeah, I've read some of that. That was kind of Willie was kind of Wilcox's guy. And then what? Did Wilcox leave the very next year or something? What a fuckhead. Turned down Mac Brown. I wouldn't want Mac Brown anyway. I'm not saying he's bad. That's just not my preference. Carla, I like your positivity. She says, I think Norvell is one of the underrated coaches in college football. Well, he's certainly not overrated at 3-6. What Outlaw says, what about the wide receiver from Penn State? Can't think of his name. Nor can I. I haven't heard of that. DJ Schultz, if they didn't fire Willie last year, that we probably could have got Gus this year. Yeah, right? The fucking timing. Like, as much as some people like to clown on Malzahn, I take Malzahn in a fucking heartbeat. Are you kidding me? Yeah, a couple not so great years, but for the most part, has Auburn winning 8, 9, 10 games, had him in a national title game, went 3-5 against Saban. And normally you'd say, oh, losing. We know 3-5 versus Saban is pretty fucking good. It's really good, actually. So, yeah, the timing's a bitch because, excuse me, would have had a shot at Malzahn. I would have gladly have taken him. My God. Norvell came from the Gus tree. Yeah, he did, didn't he? But yeah, I would take Malzahn. Luis Ramos. Gus went to the national championship with a DB playing QB. Exactly. Like, the dude can coach. All right. like I said, there's some criticisms. Like sometimes he looks like he'd been recruiting quarterbacks that didn't fit his system, and that probably cost him some games. But on the whole, his time at Auburn was pretty darn successful. Sorry, I get my dog again. Come on, buddy. Want to say hello? Come on. Come on. Oh, come on, buddy. We'll let Cubby run the show. This is little Wabby. All right, bud. Was it twice? Okay, so maybe it was 2 and 5. I thought I saw a stat where he went 3 and 5 versus Saban. One thing's funny about Malzahn though is Coward's bitch ass after the kick 6 game that off season, he was like, "Oh, Saban better look out now. Malzahn's gonna take over the conference." Coward's such a fucking scumbag. Yeah, I'm surprised Hugh Freeze hasn't been, or has he been mentioned for the Auburn job? That wouldn't shock me. Visions, you're a big Heat fan. Yeah, I don't follow the NBA. I was a Bulls fan. I guess I still am. I just don't watch. We did get Pat Williams. That's pretty sweet. What's going on here? Commercial. Labs. I should probably feed you. Lappy. Good job, buddy. Lappy. There you go, bud. Does Ohio State deserve a place in the playoff? I don't know, man. Like, this happens every year with playoff discussion, like resume versus talent, basically. Like, do I think Auburn or Ohio State's probably one of the better 4 teams in the country, or one of the best 4 teams in the country? Yeah, probably. Assuming, a quarter of their team isn't knocked out with COVID. But do they deserve? Probably not. Just based on games played, probably not. What was that? The championship game, their 6th game played? DJ Schultz, what's your thoughts on prime time down in Jackson State? I haven't looked into it, DJ, but I did see he's bringing in some recruits. Like, I think he's gotten at least one blue chip, if not multiple, at Jackson State. Just fucking crazy. I don't know what to make of it. He's never coached any level of football beyond Under Armour All-Star games, as far as I know. Yeah, he got the number 1 JUCO guy. Yeah. Of course, he got one of his kids, I think. Jalen Howe says, I know it's early, but how many wins does Norvell need to get next year? It's hard to political answer, but hard to circle just one number. But what I would like to see, a winning season. So at least 7 wins. 7 and 5. I think you get to 7 and 5, there's something to sell. Because sadly, if they do get to 7 wins, that'll be the first time they've had 7 wins in a regular season since 2016. We got 7 wins in 2017, but that was with the bowl win included. So if you can at least get a winning record, be like, see, kids, recruits, we had a legit offseason. We purged some of the program. We got our guys in here. There's buy-in, blah, 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 blah. We got a winning record this season. This is our trajectory now. We're headed up. So, hop on board the fucking train, hopefully. But yeah, I would like to see at least a winning season. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. You have to see the schedule, which I think is difficult. I know game one, we're going to lose again. I think we play Notre Dame. Someone correct me on that. I think we play Notre Dame game one. We haven't won game one since 2016, Ole Miss. Can you fucking believe that? And then I think the 2022 season kicks off with like LSU, and the 2023 season. Someone correct me on that if I'm wrong. So if that all plays out how we think it'll probably play out during this rebuild, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That could be 7 consecutive seasons of losing game one. Yeah, he got both kids. Okay. Oh, see, he flipped someone from Georgia. Fucking wow. 2025 with Bama. Okay. I don't know what the 2024 first game is, but I said 7 consecutive. Well, you might as well make it 8 out of 9 if we, since we play Bama in 2025 game 1. Or maybe Saban's gone by then. That is 5 years from now. I'd say there might be a 50-50 shot. I mean, he'll be 75 by then. I could see him retiring over the next 2 to 3 years. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to coach till he's 80 or anything. Maybe that's just false hope. Prime, the recruiting factor alone can keep him afloat. You surround yourself with good coaching staff, and then you have, at Jackson State, right? Hell, if you're pulling 3 stars at Jackson State, you have an advantage over the field that you play. So yeah, if you combine that with any decent coaching surrounding you, Jackson State will run whatever the fuck league they're in. I don't even know. Conference, someone tell me. But yeah, you're exactly right, DJ. I mean, like I said, he can get 3 stars in and rule that league. Like, seriously. Like, okay, 2024 not set. Okay, that's why I don't know who we play. The swag. Yeah, dude. Have a Jackson State roster of 50% 3 stars or better. We'll do just fine. Luis Ramos says, let's be real. Outside of Clemson, Miami, and maybe UNC, we should be winning these games against Louisville, Syracuse, Wake, BC. They do not recruit on our level, not even on this down year. No, that's why I think Mike isn't totally above criticism. You should be Georgia Tech. You should not get blown out by Louisville. You shouldn't get blown out by Pitt. Okay? So maybe next year with a legit offseason, another year of implementing their system, hopefully they win the games you think they should based on just talent. So yes, you should fucking beat Syracuse and Wake and BC. Okay? And Louisville most times. But again, I will take, if we have a winning regular season 7-5, I think that'd be a great start. A great start to the turnaround. Or at least give me hope. At least give me hope. Something to sell. What's going on here? Okay, second half's kicking off. 24-3. Oh, let's talk about the playoff. Since they've implemented college football playoff, from the get-go, my preference has been 8 teams. I've always wanted 8 teams. It's the same thing that a lot of people say. The 5 Power 5 champs get in, 3 at-large bids, be done with it. And have more teams playing for something. You have all these teams, just playing for the top 4. Like, at least expand it a little bit. I've never wanted 16 because, again, this is not some groundbreaking thought. But 16-team playoff, that means you're likely to have really likely to have 3 lost teams make it. Maybe even a 4 lost team could squeak in. I have to go look at historical rankings, see how Usually 4 loss teams are at the very back end of the top 25, but I just feel like 16 would devalue the college football regular season too much. And that's one of the things I love most about college football is the regular season. Every game is important, right? But I'd be okay with expanding it to 8 because that would pretty much mean 2 losses or less will get you in. So still, it doesn't devalue the regular season too much. You can make a couple missteps. But yeah, I'd love to see it go to 8. Of course, this year's 8, so 4 games, at least on paper, would likely be at least 3 blowouts. So it's like, yeah, whatever. But I'd like 8. What are you guys? You guys cool with the 4? You want 8? You want 16? Scott's down to 8. Scott thinks next year will be 6-6 if you don't upset anyone. Okay, if they go chalk 6-6, upset someone, hey, got a winning record suddenly. We go. He says we go to BC, and that's never easy. Yeah, it never is for even when we had better teams. Sometimes we'd struggle there. And Scott likes the 18 playoff. Outlaws, QB makes a difference. Absolutely. I mean, it goes without saying, but you need to recruit well everywhere, right? But if you have an elite quarterback, that covers up a lot. Yeah, Scott, 5 champs, plus 3 at large. DJ's teams. And then beyond not wanting to devalue the regular college football regular season too much, if you expand it to 16, I mean, how much are you pushing it back into the spring? Having games played in late January, early February, like the logistics, I don't know. It's going to get expanded, right? Too much money at stake not to do it. But we're about 2 hours away from the SEC championship game. I guess I'll watch that and at least some of it. See how much Florida gets smoked. Maybe they pull an upset, but I really fucking doubt it. Florida just doesn't have a defense worth a shit. Or for the most part, they don't. How many of y'all watched the LSU Florida game last week? Yeah, I'm not a big, like I said, I don't watch anything much outside of Knowles and Cubs or college football and MLB, but it's hard not to like FSU basketball. Unsurprising, they're pretty fucking good. But yeah, I might tune in that at 9. How many of you guys watched the LSU Florida last week? Dude, that was fucking hilarious. I caught a little bit of the first half, but I watched most of the second half, and that was just the ending was fucking hysterical. Throws the fucking cleat. Mullen inexplicably calls a timeout. Dude makes a 57-yarder in the fucking fog. It's like you're watching the game, and I've seen this, Lord knows we've seen this over the years with Florida State, especially recent seasons. When the shit's rolling downhill and it feels like everything that could go wrong does, that's how it felt watching that game. Whether it was that tipped interception in the red zone that LSU got off Trask, like I said, the cleat throwing, the timeout, the 57-yard field goal, the fact they set Pitts, like maybe Pitts wasn't 100%, but he probably could have played. It's like, damn, you don't have the type of defense to assume you're going to beat any SEC team like LSU, even though LSU's having a down year. You let your hubris get the best of you, bro. Sorry. That game was fucking hilarious. Tossing shoes around, yeah, so funny. Outlaws on the end of that game. DJ Bama's going to smoke the Gators. Yeah, probably. Best FSU, yes. Last weekend was a good FSU weekend. Beat Duke in football. Basketball team won. Gators lost. Miami got smoked in football. I think Miami basketball lost too. Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. Yeah, Mullen can coach, no doubt about it. He's a fucking clown too. What do you say? Something like Marco Wilson was in the middle of a football move or something like that. trying to explain away the cleat toss. Like, oh, yeah, it's football move, just slinging the cleat 20 yards downfield. Like, he's a fucking clown, man. But he can coach. But so far, the criticisms I had and others had of him when he was hired are still the same, and that is questioning his ceiling. Does he have national championship ceiling? And at present, he hasn't shown that. Right? He hasn't shown that. And a lot of that is on recruiting. Yes, I think they're currently 10th in 24/7 composite. I think last year they had a top 10 class. But if you actually look at, which is good, but if you look at the actual rankings of these players, like he's not getting enough of the elite of the elite to keep up with Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, LSU. I know they just beat Georgia this year, but I'm talking in general, right? He's recruiting well, but he's not recruiting national championship level well. And that was the criticism. That was the criticism. Like, well, what's his ceiling? Can he do that? He hasn't shown that so far. Because I think right now on the 24/7 player rankings, like they might have a couple, maybe 2 top 100, maybe like 4 top 250. Like, and you look at some of the other teams like Ohio State, Bama. I mean, they're pushing like a dozen guys in the top 200. You know, like it's just a different level. And so that's a little bit of criticism he should get, because I believe he set the record for most wins at Florida for a coach for their first 3 seasons. And yet he's sneaking in the top 10 when you would think, based on that excellent record and simply just being at the University of Florida, that he'd be pushing for top 5 classes. You know, he'd be getting 3 to 4 5 stars a cycle. He'd be getting, 8 to 10 top 150 players. That's not happening. He's getting very good classes. Don't get me wrong. Very top 10. I'd love if Florida State get back in the top 10 again. And he's, I believe, over the 50% blue chip threshold, but he's not recruiting at a national championship level yet. So, oh darn. Yeah, exactly. UF got beat by Brad Johnson's son. Chris Fries, for the record, I'm still here. What's up, Chris? Top King, how is Notre Dame in the ACC championship and they're not normally in the conference? It's just a fucked up pandemic year, Tojo. They're part of the conference for this season. I don't know if they'll remain. There's talks they could remain in the conference. But yeah, like Outlaw says, there are partial members and full members in the other sports. But this year was an exception for football to be a full member. Yeah, that's the thing with the LSU game too with Florida. A freshman at quarterback versus a Heisman contender quarterback, Trask. A ton of players out, right? Whether it's injury, COVID, opting out. They were 3-5 coming into the game. LSU had 3 backup DBs in the game. They were in the swamp, right? They had no right to win that game. No right. But they did. And I know Mullen doesn't want to throw his player under the bus, and he shouldn't. But some of his spin on the loss and the cleat throwing, it's like talking about Ohio State and, teams are getting rewarded for playing lesser games. It's like, okay, that may be true, Dan, referencing Ohio State and others playing less games. But how about you fucking take care of business and beat a 3-5 team with 3 backup DBs, a freshman quarterback, and many other players missing? How about you beat that team at home? Instead of bitching about other teams playing less games. Like, shut the fuck up, you whiny bitch. Like, take some accountability. You should have beat that team. Bottom line. Yeah, Notre Dame should just go ahead and stay in the conference football-wise. The other shoe that fell. Man, there were so many good memes and GIFs that came out that night with the shoe. My God. It was so fucking good. So fucking good. Oh, man. It was just a perfect storm for them to lose. And I know some Florida fans are pissed they didn't get to play us this year. They don't have that feather in their cap this year. So I like to fuck around and be like, man, y'all couldn't even beat us this year. It's fantastic because they would have smoked us. They could have, Trask could have named his yardage if they played us. They would throw for 700. I mean, but oh darn, you didn't get to play us. Hey, I mean, that's one spin to put on this season. Didn't lose to Florida, didn't lose to Clemson. And we lost, Mike lost less games his first year than Willie lost his first year. If this schedule had played out, easily would have had 8 losses. But oh darn, we don't. So we can still make the 4-8 joke. Luis says, WVU makes a lot of sense for the ACC. I agree. It does. The new ACC commission will probably come after another member. Bradley, have you started getting paid by YouTube yet? How many people do you think would tune in when you started to this live chat? Since I don't do a lot of content or haven't done much in like a year or two, I think this is my 3rd live stream the past 2 weeks. I wasn't expecting many people to hop on. It looks like there's 17 of you in here, which is awesome. Thank you. And I don't get paid anything. I only have, I say only, I appreciate every subscriber I have, but like 600 plus. I mean, you have to have like hundreds of thousands, if not more, subscribers to get paid anything worth a shit. And you have to have not just subscribers, obviously, but enough subscribers to give you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views before you start making anything. So, but that's not why I get on here. I'm not trying to make money off YouTube. Just getting on here to bullshit. Like if you want to make money off YouTube, you have to really pump out content. You have to have a solid production value. And I just don't have the time to do that. I'm just hopping on here on my laptop's camera and just BSing, just impromptu. So I expected maybe only a handful of people would hop in here. So I'm glad there's 16 of you in here. And we've been going for an hour and a half. And I've enjoyed it. Always enjoy talking football. So thanks everyone for hanging out, Let's see, let me catch up. Scott Smith says, ACC took the whole old Big East except for WVU. That's a good point. Tojo says, I hope the new ACC commissioner gets us better TV deal. Obviously, we're one of the only conferences that get shafted on that end. Yeah, I guess, wait. How would that work for the college football playoff with Notre Dame? Because Notre Dame's like kind of an exception this year. I know if Clemson gets in, that's good for the conference because the money they get gets trickled down. But would the same apply for Notre Dame? I guess it would. I mean, they're technically a member this year, but I don't know for sure. But that is the one silver lining to Clemson winning this game. Them going to the college football playoff, the revenue sharing will trickle down. Would this year? Okay, good. So, hey, win-win. I haven't checked Twitter lately. Let me check it, see if there's any recruiting whispers right now. Here. It's cryptic tweet season. It's fucking annoying. Eyeball emojis. Who'd we get? Yeah. People like look for clout. Recruiting shit. It's pathetic. Yeah, the only smoke I've seen today was what we were talking about earlier. The Kansas's receiver, Andrew Parchment. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Scroll past Michael Rappaport. Michael Rappaport joined Parlor just to fuck with them. I'm not seeing anything else mentioned here. No. Okay, anyways. God, Jimbo in the fucking playoff. Oh, God. Ay. Christopher Hughes, every time you're on, let me know. I like listening to. I love to listen to somebody yourself. Low stuff. Oh, yeah. No problem. Jags fans know all about the cryptic tweet season. Yeah. If Notre Dame wins, there should be no banner. Put them in our band. How are they going to come to our conference and spank every 2 minutes? Score still 24-3. Oh, jeez. Well, I'm going to hop off, guys. A couple things I need to do. But I appreciate you guys, man. Hour and a half. I wasn't expecting to go this long. Thought it'd be more of maybe a 30-minute chat or something. But thank you guys for chiming in, discussing all things Knowles and college football, and even a little politics there for a second. But I'll hop on some other time. I think you have to have a minimum subscriber count to post like pictures on YouTube, because what I wanted to do was at least post just a picture that subscribers could see that would say, hey, I'm going live at this time. But if you want, I will put if any of you guys are on Twitter, this is my Twitter handle. Oops. There's my Twitter handle. Knoll, you chalk. I can give a heads up on there. Maybe I'll just save them for weekends. It seems to be obviously a better time. The couple other ones I did were just totally impromptu, like 10 in the morning on a weekday. A few guys showed up and I appreciated it. But this has been nice. I mean, there's 14 of you in here right now. A handful of you making in the chat. It's great. I appreciate that, Tojo. He says, for those of you not reading the chat, that's why I'm reading the chat. Obviously, you guys in it can read it, but he says, compared to a lot of content creators like your stuff, and it's literally sitting around drinking cold beer while talking football. Yeah, that's really all it is. Like I said, I don't pretend to be anything more than just an informed fan. Informed fan. And that doesn't mean I know everything, obviously. Scott he's like Scott Smith in this chat. He sounds like he's pretty damn knowledgeable too. So that's all it is. Just fans that like to keep track of the Knowles, just talking shop. But anyway, I'm out. Thanks, guys. See you next time, probably next week or something, hopefully. Take it easy. Bye.